Let's get going on the second textbook homework assignment. Okay, so for number 52, we are composing functions. We have f of x and g of x that are pretty similar. And so for part A, we want to find f of g of x. That means that we want to plug in g of x into the function f. So we're going to do f of, and what is g of x? G of x is x minus 1. Again, if you don't need to write out all these steps, that's fine. I'm just explaining what to do. And so f of x minus 1 means that we need to plug in x minus 1 everywhere we see an x in f of x. So we're going to get x minus 1, and then we still have the plus 1 that we have to include at the end. So plus 1. So here's where I plugged it in. I plugged it into here. All right, minus 1 and plus 1 cancel out, so we're left with just x as our final answer. For part B, we end up getting the same thing, and we're going to do g of f of x instead. And so we're going to do g of what is f of x? It is x plus 1. So in our function g, I'm going to plug in x plus 1 here. So we're going to get x plus 1, and then minus 1 to get x back. For part C, we actually want to find f of g of 0. And there's two ways to do this. We already created the f of g function right here, and we can just plug it in. So it just will be 0 if we plug in 0 here, because the function's just x. But I'm actually going to do it a different way. What is g of 0? Let's first find out what g of 0 is. That means I'm going to plug 0 into the g function. So I'll have 0 minus 1. So that is negative 1. That's what that is in there. So let's replace it. So this is really finding f of negative 1. Since I replaced g of 0 with negative 1, that's what it is. So I want to find f of negative 1. That means I'm going to plug in negative 1 into the f function. So I'll have negative 1 plus 1, which is just 0. Number 61 is multiple choice, and it's asking us to find f of g of 2. I'm going to rewrite that as f of g of 2. Visually, I like this look better. So let's first find g of 2. So g of 2 means I'm going to plug 2 into the g function, so we'll have 2 plus 3, which is 5. So g of 2 is 5, so we're going to replace g of 2 with 5. So now we need to find f of 5, and f of 5 means that I need to plug 5 into the f function, so we'll have 2 times 5 minus 1. So our answer will be 9. And 9 is D. Now this is the rare odd problem that I will assign for homework. Normally it's evens, but this is one that you definitely should check the back of the book on just because you can. And if it happened to have been a graded problem, then if you got it wrong just by a dumb mathematical error, that would be silly because you can check in the back. And let's say you just made a small error, you would have realized, hey, I need to double check my work so I can get this right. Number 38 is like a word problem, but it's not really too bad. You just had to do parts A and B. This is an exponential growth function. It's about bacteria, and so we know that this first part here is the initial value, and then this is the growth rate. Remember, E is 2.718 ... It goes on forever, and so since it's greater than 1, we have exponential growth. Now we do have a coefficient in front of our independent variable t, and that's fine. It just is going to affect how the bacteria grow over time. So t, I believe, is hours. I can't recall, but it asked us what is the initial value of the bacteria at time 0 for part A. It is hours, I just checked. So the part A is asking us the initial value of the bacteria. So we can do this in one of two ways. We can realize that initial number of bacteria means time 0. It means the beginning. So you can plug in t equals 0 for this. But if you do plug in t equals 0, then you're having e to the 0, which is 1, times 100. We know that 100 is already the initial value, so if you already recognize that, you know that there's 100. part B asks us how many bacteria are present after 6 hours. So that means we need to plug in 6 for T. And you definitely need a calculator to do that. When you are plugging into your calculator, the E button is the LN key. Like if you have a TI-84, there's a little LN key on the left column. And above it, in blue, there's an E to the X. If you hit second and then this key, you'll get the E to the X because that's the blue option, which is what the second key will give you. So you plug in 100, hit your second key and then the LN key to get E to the X, and then up top you can plug in 0.693X using the X key up near the top. It doesn't have to be T, it can be, well actually we're plugging in 6. So you don't even need to plug in X, my bad. So if you just do times 6 up here. Anyway, I'm over explaining. Using your calculator, you should get 6,394. It was point something, but it was less than 0.5, so I rounded down since I'm assuming bacteria cannot be point something. So that is a fine answer. If you had point whatever, that's fine as well. It did not specify rounding.